Welcome to the Peak Podcast. My name is Kyle Nelson, and I got my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Eli Libby. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how we doing? Excited, dude. This is great.
Yes,
really excited for our guest. I had chatted with her a long time ago, and there was great synergy between what we do and what she does, and what she's doing is incredible work.
It is
transformational work.
It is, and just diving deep on her website. It's going to be a good combo. Before we get started, though, let's remind you a little bit about the Peak Podcast, where we talk to entrepreneurs, coaches, business owners, and high-level executives to really understand and focus on what their peak moment was before they got into what they're doing today. And typically, it's a very cool story to learn and pick a little bit, and hopefully that helps you if you're making large transitional changes in your life. And if you haven't yet, go to peakfulfillment.co if you want to learn about our self-guided solar retreat program, where you can gain some clarity, remove those limited beliefs, and really have a path forward in life. But without further ado, let's bring on Shannon Wooten, who is the founder and owner of Life with Shannon. Shannon, what's going on? Welcome to the Peak Podcast.
Hi, y'all. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
New Year. Gosh, it's so good to see you. You look awesome. We hung out a couple months ago, but it's good to see you again.
I know a lot changes in just a few short months, right? So I'm so happy to be here. And I find it what's the word I want to use? Anytime that somebody wants to sit and talk with me and be a human with me, it's just a reassuring moment. It's like, look, people can talk to me. I think I'm doing okay.
Sure.
I totally
absolutely agree. Shannon, is there a word, this is, I guess, an icebreaker, but is there a word that's kind of leading you this year? Like a word that is like something that you keep coming back to that's kind of guiding your path for 2025?
Yeah. Great question.
Sticking?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. Romance.
Okay.
Nice.
Haven't heard that one. That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's just break it down a little bit more. I mean, I get the idea, but
yeah. So I admittedly, I'm someone that likes to romanticize life.
Okay.
And I look for the essence, the golden nugget, or the golden shadow, some people even call it, in every single moment and every single person. However, life is hard. Humaning is hard. There's a lot of obstacles, and, forget the things that you prepare for. It's the shit that you can't prepare for that like wallops you on side of the head, and you're just, you get knocked down. And so sometimes in that knocked down, we forget about gratitude. We forget about glimmers, and we forget about romance. Yeah. And so that, for me, is, I think that sometimes people look at coaches and they're like, oh, they got all their shit together. And I'm like, let me tell you about all my shit that I have over there and over here and over here. Like, I'm just a real person. And I think that it is worth romanticizing the nuances of our humanity, so that we don't forget, hey, this is hard. I'm not doing as bad as I think I'm doing, or as harsh as I'm judging myself. So why don't I ease up and be my own friend and romanticize where I'm at, so that I can help myself get beyond that? Because when we get into the place of, getting into a funk, sometimes that funk can hold us there, right? Yeah. And so if we don't, I think I talked about this with you before, we talked about neutrality. If we don't allow ourselves to have a sense of neutrality of, okay, maybe you feel like shit, but what else is going good, right? Brings us back to that romance. If we allow ourselves to say, yes, there is validity in everything that feels hard right now, but what is hopeful? What's good?
I love that. I'm glad that I asked to go deeper, because the surface level of romance, I took it a kind of a different way, but I love how you said that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you do right now. What is kind of the focus? Who are the style of clients that come to you?
Yeah, so I get the risk takers, right? I get the people who likely growing up felt like outcasts, right? I am a late diagnosed neurodivergent autistic. And when I was diagnosed, it really gave me so much freedom. And I was like, Eureka, I'm not as fucked up as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And at the same time, maybe I am. But that's fine, right? That's the charm of me. And I learned that some people, how they process that idea that they're unconventional, they feel it really hard.
Sure.
And so it was such an eye opener for me to be able to see people in that journey, because here I am over here like, yeah, like I love it. You know, I'm different. I can finally confirm and validate that for myself. So these are the people that I attract, right? I want to sit with them and understand, where do you feel unsafe with yourself, and bring them into their audacity. Because it's typically these people who have unconventional ways of being that are living outside of the rigid framework our society supplies, that this is appropriateness, follow this rule.
Exactly.
And as a part of that, they lose connection with their authenticity. They feel like everything they think is wrong. And so when that happens, we lose connection to trusting our instincts. We lose connection to that animal primal self of ours that guides us through those hard moments, that says, I can find the romance beyond this. But if we are unaware of our inner exile,
Sure.
that will impact everything that we do, including our thoughts, including our feelings. And that will color our world in a way that makes us think, well, this is all there is. So I call those people towards me and I challenge them with the idea of, yeah, that works, but is it optimal?
Yeah.
And if it's optimal for you, but it's not how somebody else would color their universe, how can we find neutrality to understand that that's because their beliefs are rooted in something different than yours? So your way of unconventionality isn't as extreme as you think it is. It just may be that way to somebody else who has a different perception of life. So let's root into your unconventionality and understand it so that you can ride that wave over and over again, more sustainably, with more stability.
Gosh, that's so cool. I love it. It's like
Yeah.
really in the vein, obviously, of your mission and what you have on your website. Like
Thank you.
everything you said there is right in line with, being your optimal self and what is your like authentic being. And I think it's cool that you're attracting the type of people that you want to work with and that follow you for your journey.
Thank you.
So many people trying to show up for others, but it sounds like you help people show up for themselves first.
I try to, because I relate to that, right? Like when you're disassociated from yourself, and I know that's a buzzy word, but it's the best word I can use in this moment. But when you're disassociated from yourself, the worst thing that happens is you feel unsafe everywhere.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you also, you're like Teflon for compliments and accolades, and you can be a high achieving person, but you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
I was that person, achieving, and having all of these accreditations that other people might have been like, wow, look at me, I'm fucking killing the game.
Yep.
And I was just writing it off as like, well, that's just what you do. That's just what you do. That's just what you do. I wasn't feeling my life. I was numb to it, because I was numb to, how do I feel my life?
Yep. Exactly. Wow. I have a really cool question that I'd like to pose. How do you help your clients to deal with comparison, and how do you do it for yourself? Because everything you're talking about is about being your authentic self. And again, like in your mission statement, what is optimal for you? I think one of the things that people struggle with in today's day and age is comparing themselves because of the stimulus and stimuli that is like just hitting us every day, and the noise to be able to cut through that and be your own person. Two-part question, how do you deal with comparison? And then how do you help influence your clients to deal with comparison?
So I'll answer myself first, because that's the easiest, right? Easy. Because I'm very complicated, right? And I let that be. I acknowledge that I'm a complicated person. And so the way that I came to understanding that comparison is a signal of a deeper trigger that is either calling me to see what beliefs are outdated and no longer aligned with me, or showing where I'm settling into familiarity.
Yeah.
So I use anytime I feel triggered by comparison to call myself into action to really understand what it is that's going on there. And the way that I do that is the same way I do it with my clients. I use a values-based integration program, which is just kind of walking them through experiences in their lives, which I've done for myself, right, that were impactful for them. And then coming down to the essence of the impact of that experience to highlight, okay, what are the things you're seeing repetitive here between each circumstance? And from that, pull out the value. And so for myself, one of my values is inconsistency. right? I believe that humans are dynamic. Every single one of us are dynamic. And our crossover of sameness is our diversity.
Mhm.
And so anytime I find myself feeling hard pressed to fit into a mold, which the comparison calls me to, I root in and I ask myself where the values that I have and I house within me are being ignored and exchanged for acceptance,
Mm.
external validation, instead of knowing what within myself is beautiful, romantic, right? The values that I have.
Yeah.
And so that's where I walk my clients to, is delineating for them, okay, let's highlight the top 5 values that lead who you are as a person.
Mm.
Because then when you find yourself triggered, you can always bounce back to those values, and you can gut check yourself and hold yourself accountable to seeing where maybe you're out of integrity with one of them, which is why you're judging yourself and criticizing yourself and invalidating yourself so heavily. And the tool that I always approach my clients with is, if you have an instinct that is leading you in a direction, but your first cause of action is to jump in front of that instinct, invalidate yourself, you're not operating from integrity. You're operating from a narrative in your head that tells you what you think and what you feel is automatically wrong.
Boom.
So it's getting us into right relationship with our instincts to understand where we're cutting ourselves off at the knees before we even have an opportunity to say, well, how could this be valid for me? And then looking at the ways in which it feels unsafe to ask ourselves, is it unsafe because it truly is, and we're riding off the rails? Or is it unsafe because it's simply unfamiliar and not how we know ourselves, and give us an opportunity to breathe and grow into that and realize that, oh, it was the bigness of me being visible and my authenticity that scared me, because it required me to grow in to a different frame of mind, a different frame of being, and maybe a different frame of bigness than I was used to at that time, right? It's capacity.
I love that. Man, amazing.
Yeah. What was how did you get into this work? What was the story behind it and the inspiration, and what was the big leap you had?
So I love that you call it the peak, because as soon as you're like, we like to, find the peak moment, I'm like, is it really the plummet moment for me? Peak and plummet, right? They're both sides of the same coin. I got into this work because I was at the height of disassociation. Like I said, I was the lead project manager for a corporation, working alongside of the president of the company, and I was the only project manager that would execute new business.
Okay.
And my mom calls not aware. I'm not present. I'm like up in the ether, and I'm still able to conduct business and do good work. And it came to my attention that I wasn't present, and I couldn't understand why, because that's out of integrity for me. If I'm with you, I'm with you. But here I am out here somewhere out of integrity.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was in the height of an infertility battle with my husband that was just wreaking havoc on my insides and my nervous system.
Wow.
So while I'm going through all of this EMDR and digging through repressed trauma, add infertility on top of that, and I essentially had a breakdown.
Yep.
And it took me all of 10 years to get to this point to realize that I was actually having a breakdown back then.
Mm.
And so at that point, I got into coaching because I was truly trying to save myself. And I had engagement with therapists and other healers that were so like, oh, I know what your problem is. And, oh, I have the answer. And I'm like, you just fucking met me. How can you know that?
Yeah.
My whole life and I don't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
No. And so I trusted that instinct. And when I trusted that instinct to go to coaching, I found in essence a pathway forward to helping people the way that I wish I could have been helped, by listening, by learning, by observing, and reflecting back who the individual is, not who I want them to be.
Yeah, man, that is so powerful.
And what was the I suppose the style of coaching you did, it was just natural of who you are, right? And you're just sharing the tools and the things that you've understood and worked through, and that's worked for you with others.
Correct. So the style of coaching that I learned and I continue to operate under is ontological coaching. So that's coaching to the holistic being, to the essence of them in every single scenario. And I find that my work to be comprehensive, right? We're pulling in your values that are from different experiences. We're addressing your capacity. We're understanding what stability is for you. It's all very nuanced and subjective. And that is the way I learned as well. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. It's very similar, like really similar to our story and how we started our program and how we got into coaching. Very similar, but what at the end of the day, what I think it built you and what it sounds like is grit and resilience. Like you have a thick metal sheet of armor now that you went through that time. And hopefully when you look back on it, and as you've done and reflected on it, hopefully it, those dots connected for a reason. And you are where you are today because of the stuff that you went through. And hopefully you've had the opportunity to work with people and change their lives, right? That's the best part about coaching for us, is changing people's lives and seeing it on their face and seeing it in their actions. That's what we love.
Giving them the permission to feel those feelings and emotions. Yeah. That's the most important thing, because most people don't have the permission to do that because they need to do it themselves, and it's hard to do that. So, Shannon, as we kind of wrap things up, if there was one thing that you hope our audience could really take away from you, if there was one nugget that you hope places in their heart, what would that be?
I'm going to use my sentiment and my word of the year, right? Dare to romanticize your life. Like, who cares if somebody thinks you're heady and you're up in the clouds? If you feel safe in that environment, being unconventional, right? Dare to go there, because I always say, if you feel pulled in a direction, it's not being pulled. You're being called. That is future self calling you forward. So dare to romanticize that inner instinct of, maybe I do know what's best for me, and maybe I don't have the reason, but maybe it will reveal itself, because that's what happened to me. I dove into the work and the reason revealed itself.
That is beautiful.
I love it. The energy from that is phenomenal.
I do. I love it.
I just love reflecting on that.
I do too.
Romanticizing this upcoming year, and really just, it's almost just revalidating who you are at a core and loving you for who you are and the uniqueness that you have and really what you can offer to the world. And when we can validate those things, it makes life a little bit easier to breathe through.
Man.
Sure. I mean, life is hard. Like, I think it's to our benefit to admit it. Absolutely. And to allow ourselves to understand that happiness is a choice. And I know that hits hard, and I know it sounds so irritating, because it's irritating to me, and I'm a coach, but we have to choose that. And romanticizing it gives us that permission you were talking about, to acknowledge both things can be true. It can be hard, and it can be hella good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much. If people wanted to connect with you and learn more about your coaching and connect, what would be the best places to do that?
Yeah, come on over to Instagram at Shannon Wooten. Let's play and have some fun. Subscribe to my newsletter at lifewithshannon.com. And I also have recently just issued a new archetype assessment for you to understand where you're getting stopped up in your triggers and learn how to transmute them and turn them into benefits so that you can leverage them and learn how to function more effectively for yourself.
Very cool.
Right on.
Definitely recommend that assessment.
Heck
that sounds cool.
Check that out.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to keep in touch and have you on another episode down the road.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was awesome combo.
That was amazing. I love the word of the year. I'm really glad we dove into that.
Yes,
that was
the energy
powerful.
was really good too, and romanticizing.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's something that it's just a good reminder of at the end of the day, if you just really focus on one thing just for the year, right? And the word romance and romanticizing is kind of all encompassing.
It is.
It's really good. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Peak Podcast. If you want to listen to awesome guests just like Shannon, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We can't wait to have you along on the next episode of the Peak Podcast. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.